So my name's Holly, and I'm married, and I have 7 children, and I have Myasthenia gravis. So I was diagnosed in August 2015. I had been complaining to my primary care physician for a few years about fatigue, the fatigue I'd experienced in the past, because I have I sometimes get mono. I've had mono at least 6 times since I was 15. And so my doctor kept saying, well, maybe you have mono again, or maybe, different things like that. And I kept telling him this fatigue felt different. I started having double vision, but I didn't know it was double vision when I started having it. It started and got worse over the course of a year or so. It was just hard to focus, or hard to sometimes see the lines of images. And my husband said, oh, you're just getting older. That's what happens when you turn 40. And they're like, oh, you're getting old lady eyes, it's time to get glasses. And I was like, okay, well, I'm 40, I'm a little over 40 now. But I was like, okay. And so I thought, all right, I just need glasses. And then, but it didn't help. It didn't fix the problem. And it happened more at night when I was watching TV. The subtitles would be, I would see like images like this, where there were shadows and ghosting. And I didn't know the terminology for that. I just told my doctor, I'm starting to see like this. And he goes, you're having double vision. And I said, if that's what you call it, then that's what I'm having. So I went to my primary care provider, and he said, I think you have myasthenia gravis. And I was like, what is that? And he said, he wrote it out on a piece of paper, and he said, go home and Google it. He goes, you have all the symptoms. And I said, okay. So I did. And he goes, in the meanwhile, I want to run some blood work, and I'm going to set you up with an appointment to see a neurologist. And I said, okay. So I did the blood work, which came back normal, showing that I did not have myasthenia gravis. But later I found out seronegative. So I went to see the neurologist, and he gave me some medication called Myasthenia. It was the off-brand, histamine, however you say that's a hard word. Most of us just call it Myasthenia. And I remember taking it. He told me, he goes, wait till you have symptoms, take it. And if you respond positively to this, he goes, I can clinically diagnose you with myasthenia gravis. And I was like, okay. The medication's only used for 2 things, he said. So I had double vision one day. I took medication. I had driven my daughter to work. And on the way home, on our road, we lived on a dirt road at the time, and we had a canopy of trees. And I loved all the trees. And that day, I could see the individual leaves. Usually, they were just a green mass. I usually couldn't distinguish because the double vision was so bad that I couldn't see the individual leaves. And this day I could. And it was kind of like a miracle to me. And I was so excited. And I thought, this medication worked. And it continued to work. It still does, but it's a Band-Aid. It's not a cure. It only lasts a few hours. When I went back to the neurologist, he told me that I have ocular myasthenia gravis. I felt that I had general, but in the time that I saw him, he did not see those symptoms and did not feel that. And I said that was fine. Over the course of the next year, I deteriorated pretty quickly. When I went back the following year, I was to the point where I could not stand to wash dishes anymore. I always had to sit on a stool. I could not cook dinner unassisted. I needed help doing my hair every day, or I changed the way I did my hair so that it didn't require any work on my part. My family no longer let me go anywhere alone because I sometimes needed help walking or moving, lifting things. So then when I went back to the doctor, the neurologist, he looked at me and he goes, I can tell you've progressed. He goes, you have general myasthenia gravis now. And I said, okay. So he could tell I wasn't speaking as clearly. My side of my face, my ptosis had gotten much worse. I was having difficulty holding my frame up, which is like what I call it anyways. My carriage or my frame is my shoulders through my rib cage from my waist. I was slouched over. I had trouble sitting up. So he could see that and realized that I was having more difficulty. And so he said, would you like to feel better soon, quick? And I said, yes, please. And so he put me on 60 milligrams of prednisone and started me on Cellcept. And I was only on the prednisone for 15 days. I did 5 days of 60, then 5 days of 40 milligrams, and then 5 days of 20. During that time of the stepping down, it was going too fast, and I experienced a minor crisis where I had major difficulty breathing. I did not need to be intubated. Through rest and medication, I was able to control it. So then during that just over 2 weeks, my blood pressure went very high and my blood glucose levels increased. So my doctor told me that if I was to stay on prednisone, I would need to take insulin as well. And I said no. I did not like the way I felt on prednisone. The side effects were really bad. Although for the first time in a year, I could stand and do dishes on my own. And I could cook. That was pretty cool. Sorry. It was really exciting. Yeah, it was amazing. And I loved how good I felt. That almost made it worth it to stay on it. But I felt like I had 1,000 bees buzzing inside of my chest and my head when I was on prednisone. And I thought, I can't function feeling like this. And then, so I started on a low dose of Cellcept. It was about 250 milligrams. And they worked me up to 1,000. But side effects I had on that were basically, I just felt like I was coming down with the flu every day. And I thought, this isn't much better. And it wasn't really working for me. It wasn't really taking away my symptoms on a daily basis. Now, I don't know if I needed a higher dose or what, but I had to have surgery unrelated to my myasthenia in November. And so I had to go off the Cellcept for that anyway. So I was glad for that I didn't have to stay on that medication. So then my doctor suggested I have IVIg prior to my surgery to help strengthen me. Surgery can be difficult on the body, so they wanted me as strong as I could be so I would heal well. So that's what I did. I did a 3-day round in November, and it was rough. We had some complications with it just because they ran it too fast the one day without fluids and things like that. But a couple days after, it was right before Thanksgiving, and I cooked Thanksgiving dinner that year, and I felt great. I felt really good, and I told my doctor, I said, this is the right treatment for me. I feel normal again. I feel my symptoms have pretty much gone away. Yes, if I still really, really, really overdid it, maybe I might have some ptosis, but I felt amazing. And so I thought, this is going to be great. I hope I can continue on it. My insurance only approved so many, so my doctor had to keep seeking approval. I continued that treatment for 5 months. Usually about once a month I would have a booster treatment, and that was enough to maintain me at a good level. Usually around the 3-week mark though, my symptoms would start to come back, and that was okay because they were mild at first. My last treatment was in March of 2017. My husband switched jobs and we moved across the country. So I'm not currently receiving IVIg, and all my symptoms have come back in full force, slowly over the course of a few months, but they're all back. So I am going to start seeing a new neurologist next month, and I'm hoping that I can have IVIg again. I'm hoping the new insurance approves it and that this doctor recognizes that I have it, and I hope I don't have to go through the whole process of being diagnosed again. The best thing that a myasthenia gravis patient can do is learn as much as they can about the illness. There is not a lot of knowledge among the medical community with myasthenia gravis. And to always have an advocate in your family, a loved one, or someone. My husband and 2 of my children always carry certain medical information on them in case I am unable to speak, which does happen occasionally where I can't get my mouth to move correctly. And so I have found personally that the ER staff, emergency responders, they don't always know how to treat myasthenia gravis, and to learn as much as you can about it, because you need to know what's going on with your body. You need to know you and what is normal and isn't normal. And just because the doctor can't always see it in the 5 to 7 minutes you spend with him doesn't mean that what you're experiencing is all in your head. I thought that that's what it was at first. I thought maybe I'm imagining this. Maybe, maybe it is just part of getting older. But then I kept thinking, no, I'm too young for this. I'm too young to not be able to stand for more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes at a time. And so I think you just need to know yourself and not be afraid to say something's wrong. And I need this, or I don't need that. And hopefully, you can learn to live with this illness. I think it's a balancing act of constantly knowing where you're at and knowing what you're capable of, and being okay with saying, I need help with this, or I can't do this right now. And knowing that that's okay, that it doesn't make you less of a person, it doesn't make you needy, it doesn't make you crazy. It just means that you're learning to accept and live with your illness. So myasthenia.org is the Myasthenia Gravis Foundation of America. They help raise awareness and raise funds for research for myasthenia gravis. And myasthenia.org is their website, and they have great information for patients, caregivers, and the medical community, or anyone who wants to learn or help find a cure for this illness.